Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. Tonight, we have found out that the Richmond, Virginia campaign office of House Minority Whip Eric Cantor was shot at on Monday. America is extremely divided right now, and there are nut jobs. We are in an extraordinarily dangerous time. We don't turn to violence. It is never the answer. But not speaking out and not speaking the truth isn't the answer either. Mahatma Gandhi said this: use truth as your anvil and nonviolence as your hammer. And anything that doesn't stand the test when it is brought to the anvil of truth and hammered with nonviolence, reject it. I have the anvil. Grab your hammer. Let's go. Hello, America. Opposition to health care and this bill leading up to the vote was well documented. There was intimidation of the Democrats by the progressives. It was bad, and things were tense. Almost 3/4 of Americans opposed this bill in its final form, and yet America got it anyway. America was spanked for opposing it. But since it is passed, what has happened? Are people just ready to move on? Well, the president and his allies would like us to believe so. Unfortunately, the polls, this one from CBS, shows that 62% of Americans want the GOP to continue fighting this legislation. And that's not just those angry Republicans. That's 41% of Democrats polled want the GOP to continue fighting the bill. 41%. Are you kidding me? Looks like decent bipartisan support against it. But if you're the president, you can't have any of this debate going on. You've got to move on, and you've got to start grabbing that 41% and bringing them into your tent. He needs people to move on quickly and forget that he's just slapped America around, and what some are calling a Marxist dream was shoved down our throats. So, what is the strategy to get the talk onto anything else other than the bill and to rally his base? Unfortunately, we are seeing the same tried and true method of hate speech. Oh, it's hate speech. Here's the way it works. If you can't win the argument, stop the argument. It's what the left resorts to time after time after time, and quite frankly, we're sick of it. They do it with talk radio. The fairness doctrine. They can't compete, shut down the opposing voice, stomp it out. If you're against amnesty, stomp it out. You just hate people who look different than you. It's just hate speech. You're against health care. Why do you hate poor people so much? It's hate speech. We're sick of it. We're sick of it. And quite honestly, it's not working anymore. The only people it's working with are the reporters in the media. That's it. Now, this is how they're attempting to silence the Tea Partiers and anyone who is standing against this health care bill. They are just so hateful, and they're going to get violent, you know. During the Tea Parties, liberals in the media were trembling in fear, shaking in their boots. And they were right. I mean, doesn't she look scary? She's a grandma. Oh, the horror. Parents, please cover your children's eyes here. Of course, no actual violence ever happened at any of the Tea Party rallies, but that didn't really stop Nancy Pelosi from crying about the possibility of violence.
I have concerns about some of the language that is being used, because I saw this myself in the late 70s in San Francisco. Oh, this kind of rhetoric was very frightening, and it created a climate in which violence took place.
Okay, stop. May I ask a question? If she was really worried about violence and she thought these people were violent, why would you grab a big hammer and walk into a sea of these people? I mean, was there not a Secret Service? Somebody should ask this question. Of the Secret Service, did anyone recommend that that's not a good idea? Did anyone say to Nancy Pelosi, you're inciting these people? You're slapping them across the face. You're walking into a sea of them just saying, did anybody say that? No violence has happened. None. Now, of course, there are crazies in all walks of life. Were there some people shouting things? I don't know. I haven't seen any evidence, but people say that happened. But, you know, you can kind of see people being angry and saying things that are stupid. Never speak in anger. But no one can objectively look at the 100% peace ratio from the Tea Parties and be fearful of them and cry like that on TV. But now look at the story that's being presented in the media from the elected representatives. CNN devoted a huge portion of their programming yesterday and a bit of it today again to congressmen under threat. MSNBC is running loops of Democratic headquarters that had broken windows in, implying that Republicans are doing it, even though there have been no arrests made. Where are you getting your facts here? Chris Matthews accused Republicans of criminal incitement, saying Bart Stupak is getting threats. I have a question. Did Chris Matthews care about Bart Stupak and his family when he was being intimidated by the left because he opposed the health care bill? Do you remember that last week? I don't recall hearing anything about that from Chris Matthews, but like the rest of America, I do have to admit, I don't watch his show, so maybe I'm wrong about that. If Chris Matthews does a show every day and it's on MSNBC, I mean, did he really do a show? You know what I mean? People are crawling out of the woodwork now to call me dangerous as well. James Cameron called me that. Cokie Roberts called me a terrorist and a traitor to the country 2 nights ago. Sarah Palin is being called out for inciting people. And here's the evidence. It's damning, I warn you. Here's the scary map right there. Can you bring that full screen so people can see that? Bring it full screen, if you will. Sarah, there it is. Oh, look, it's, oh my gosh, are those targets? Is that what she's doing? That couldn't possibly mean politicians, you know, to vote them out of the office, to target a politician to vote them out of office. No, 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 no. No, what Sarah Palin is clearly saying here is shoot them all. Really? Wait a minute. Can somebody get a note over to CNN or MSNBC? I just figured something out. Do you know that there's an entire store, chain store, all across the country, mainly in the heartland, named Target, and their logo is a bullseye? Who shops there? I bet a lot of Tea Parties do. Yeah. Do they sell guns at Targets? Why the violence from these Target stores? What are they implying? You see how ridiculous this is? Representative Clyburn now is saying that Republicans are aiding and abetting this kind of terrorism. Watch.
I can tell you, I've seen how these things escalate. People out there in the streets get their signals, or what they think are their signals, from the people in positions like we hold. And so if we don't disown that and get our people to move beyond that, if we participate in it, either from the balcony or on the floor of the House, you are aiding and abetting this kind of terrorism, really.
Terrorism. Terrorism. Where was Congressman Clyburn when this terrorist spoke out? Watch.
You could have went to New Hampshire and killed 2 birds with 1 stone.
Could have gone to 1600 Pennsylvania and killed the real bird with 1 stone.
Isn't that a threat against the president's life? Look, we're in a time in America that I never thought we would get to. This is your children and grandchildren are going to say, where were you? What did you do? What were you thinking? Keep a diary. It's important. Keep a diary. If you're on the front lines of this debate, you're going to get threats. Believe me. And you have to take them seriously. If you're in Congress or you're just on television or you have to take them seriously. But you're getting them because you're speaking out and you're making a difference. The more threats you get, the more you have to take them seriously, because there are nut jobs out there. But at no time have you ever heard me ever blame the threats or any of the violence on anyone other than the crazy people who are doing it. That's where it belongs. But the left pressuring now John Boehner to issue an apology. For what? What has John Boehner done? Did he hurt somebody? Is he teaching somebody how to build a bomb? It seems, if it was innocent, as just an overreaction to something where there is very little evidence of, very, very little. MSNBC and CNN are acting like this is a near certainty, that the right will act out at any moment, and they're on hot standby. We could go at any time.